it don't get everything is true. But what it don't...
Boss, you can't go on ignoring this rock and roll stuff anymore. Every hotel and club in the country's wiring for information.
Hello, Groove Dogs. Welcome to the Runaway Radio Rewind, a program that looks and listens back to the heyday of one of America's truly great radio stations, the legendary and late KLOL. It's the Runaway Radio Rewind. And now, here's your host, Steve Robinson.
Welcome back. If you're a regular, if it's your first time here, where the hell have you been? It's time for the Runaway Radio Rewind, where we celebrate one of the greatest rock stations ever, Rock 101, KLOL. Today on the show, we have more from Dayna Steele. We tracked her down and had a great conversation with her about her history with 101. And we have found yet another classic Uncle Waldo for you to enjoy. So thanks for stopping by. Here's Dayna Steele.
KLOL wound up becoming the surviving rock station in Houston. It was challenged by, 97 Rock and I think a few others along the way, maybe not as big a way. Why do you think, apart from the reasons that you just talked about why it was so loved, why do you think KLOL wound up being the victor in the rock wars?
Again, because we went back. We had such deep Houston roots. 97 Rock didn't have Houston roots. Whatever the other ones were. It's always funny to me to walk into someplace like Clear Channel now and see all of my mortal enemies lined up, studio next to studio next to studio, because we were. But it's because we had such deep Houston roots, and we were owned by... Jay Jones let us get away with things. We were so not corporate, and these other stations were. They tried to be the bad boys and bad girls of radio, but they still had corporate overlords. We still had Jay Jones, who was like, just come in shaking his head like, oh, what have they done now? But they let us get away with a lot of that.
Do you remember any great radio war stories?
Oh, I just remember people would ask me if WKRP in Cincinnati was anywhere close to the real thing, and I was like, "It's a documentary." There was one particular episode where the radio station mascots were having a fight. They were like duking it out, and I remember it happening with the Runaway Radio, and I can't even remember what the other one was. But I mean, it's so far back, but it was just who could get the banner there first, who could get the interview. I remember Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I got a call from their manager one day on the hotline. He said, where's my band? Because I had asked for an interview, and he said, we love you, but I think at the time it was probably 97 Rock, or that's probably who it was. It was a big deal. It was the big concert after David had gotten out of prison, David Crosby, and Crosby, Stills, and Nash were doing this huge concert. I think it was at the Summit. So it was like, we can't do any interviews with you because then we'll make the other ones mad. You got all access passes. You got all the tickets you want, whatever, but we can't do interviews. Well, they all came to the station. And I remember David had his daughter Donovan with him, and Stephen Stills was doing traffic with Lanny, and Donovan was helping me DJ, and the guys were picking out music, and they were all up there without permission. And Bill Siddons said, where's my band? And I said, what band? So it was that sort of thing. We developed such great relationships with people. Stevens and Pruitt were best friends with Sam Kinison. I was, great friends with Van Halen and Sammy Hagar and Boston and so when they would come in, I remember Miss Lily, and don't let me forget before I leave today, I must tell the Miss Lily story. But I remember Miss Lily going, there's some boy named Slash on the phone and he is insisting on talking to you. Miss Lily, please put Slash there. And I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm at the Four Seasons. I'm watching cartoons. They won't let us do any radio interviews. I'm bored to death. He said, so I can't go on the air, but talk to me. And he goes, and they were so famous. It was when they played, I think, the Astrodome. They were so famous they couldn't leave the hotel room. And so, it was always those kind of stories. There's a boy named Slash on the phone. What kind of name is that for a boy?
Tell us the Miss Lily story.
Okay, Miss Lily was about 3 feet tall, devout, Pentecostal, wonderful woman. You know, when she took her hair, her bun was Marge Simpson. It was long before there was a Marge Simpson. There was a Miss Lily with this bun. I think I saw her with her hair down once, and it went all the way to the floor. Miss Lily knitted all the time. She was always doing a project at the front desk, which meant the phone never got answered at KLOL. You could never get Miss Lily to answer the phone. We used to joke that she knitted an entire wedding dress at the front desk one day, or for months, and she would not answer the phone. But she ran that front desk with military precision. You did not get through when she did answer the phone. You did not get up those stairs unless you had an appointment. So you can imagine all of the KLOL fans that would come by, and they wanted to see Dayna Steele. They wanted to see Stevens and Pruitt. They wanted to see the traffic master. You were not getting past Miss Lily unless you were the pizza delivery man. I always wanted to write a murder mystery novel, and the way they got the weapon in was in a pizza box. Because if you had a pizza box, she would let you in. But I remember there were a couple of different stories. President Carter was doing his big book tour after he left the White House. And first of all, he couldn't get her to answer the phone. Finally, she answered the phone, and he said, you know, I've been trying to get through. We seem to be lost. And she said, well, you should have looked it up before you came. and then another time, Arnold Schwarzenegger is when he was big movie star. It was before he got into politics. He was there promoting a movie or something, and he'd been there several times before. And he walked in, and he was used to just going right up the stairs. And she was like, you stop right there. And I mean, she was great. And the third one was when David Crosby got out of prison, and he was in a halfway house here in Houston. I had befriended him. We had become friends. He came to the radio station to hang out one day. And there were only 12 or 18 spaces in the parking garage, which were coveted. Otherwise, you had to go find a place on the street in the Montrose. And he pulled up in his rental car, and he buzzed, and he said, I need to park in the garage. And Miss Lily said, do you have a permit? And he, no, ma'am, this is David Crosby. She goes, I know who it is. I can see you. Do you have permission? He was like, no, but I'm David Crosby. I need to pull in. She goes, no, you don't. You don't have permission. So he waited till somebody pulled into the garage, and he pulled in after them. She was fit to be tied. I just remember she turned so red. And from that day on, when David Crosby would call, she would not talk to him. He still remembers her. We were talking about this. He and Melissa Etheridge came in to do a fundraiser, a benefit for me. Fundraiser would be a benefit. It's a fundraiser for my congressional campaign back in February. And he still, to this day, remembers that story. She was so mad, shaking her finger at him.
Were there lots of crazy stuff that happened because of where the station was, like right in the middle of the Montrose during that era? Was it?
Yeah. I mean, when I started in August of 1982, the Montrose was like the murder capital of the United States. It was pretty dangerous, and it was scary. And I remember we found, it was a dead body. It was either in the garage or behind that fence. It was in the vicinity, and it so scared me. In fact, I use this story when people say, you just want to take my guns. I'm like, no, I don't. Let me tell you a story. They found this body. I was doing midnight to 6. It terrified me. I was there alone. So Monday morning, I was at the gun shop at the corner of Westheimer and Montrose. Walked out of there 30 minutes later with a fully loaded semi-automatic Beretta 9mm pistol and a box of bullets in my purse. And for the next month, I couldn't remember if the little red button meant the gun was on or off. And I never bothered to ask anyone until one of the cops that used to hang out around the studio went, you're going to sell me that gun right now, which I did. So the moral to that story is I just want to make sure people like me don't have a gun. I mean, there were just the story of how Kevin Dorsey became a KLOL employee. He was a listener who drove a rainbow bread truck, and whatever was left over, he would come over and drop off. So we'd always have all this fresh bread and cinnamon rolls, and then he started hanging out. It was just the most bizarre stories of how people became part of the KLOL family.
Any other like crazy rock star stories that you remember?
They were just always in and out. People always say who were your favorites or who were the best ones to interview? It was the big stars, because big stars get to be big stars not just because of talent, and some of them don't even have really that much talent, but they have great business sense. They have great networking sense. I wrote a book about it. They show up on time. They're prepared. They can talk about their product. They can sell tickets. They can sell CDs. They can tell a great story. And the ones who would be late, not show up at all, answer everything monotone, I can't tell you where they are now. The book is called Rock to the Top, What I Learned About Success from the World's Greatest Rock Stars. It came out 10 years ago. I really need to update it. I want to put an 11th chapter so I can say it goes to 11. Because there was really no social media. It was just starting when I wrote the book, and I would love to add an 11th chapter in an updated version someday, talking about how everyone has learned to use social media to build their networks. But no, I mean, there were all kinds of stars in and out, and comedians, and we met everybody. We were so lucky, but we also all worked. We lived, breathed, and worked KLOL 24/7.
We'll be hearing from her again, I am sure. That is Dayna Steele here on the Runaway Radio Rewind. Hey, it's Steve Robinson. Two things. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Runaway Radio Rewind, and also check out runawayradiorewind.com. Okay, it's time for Uncle Waldo.
Shrimpy, small cowboy type person. Act 1, Scene 1. And we open with Uncle Waldo, small, teenage, puny cowboy type person, ordering a beer in the Redneck Saloon. After downing that beer, he struts outside. Immediately, he crashes back through the swinging doors and demands...
All right. I said, all right, I did. Who is the low-down, no good, honky mofo that done gone and painted my horses to test it bahungas yellow? Who painted them yellow? Huh?
I did, you little wimp. What are you going to do about it?
Well, I just wanted to tell you they're about dry now. Maybe you want to give them a second coat.
Oh, no.
You've been listening to the Runaway Radio Rewind. Join us next week for more memories and goodness for the intelligentsia from the people who made the former KLOL what it was. Find us online at runawayradiorewind.com and be sure to grab your Runaway Radio gear. You can find the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. Show us your dog, and we'll see you next week on the Runaway Radio Rewind.